Here we are, people. The second leg of the UCL is soon approaching. Tuesday, Wednesday, it is cinema time to see who will advance to the final in Munich. Will it be Inter, who have had a difficult couple of weeks going out of the Coppa Italia, looking like they might not win the Scudetto, going up against Barcelona, who are trying to complete the treble? And in the other semi-final, Arsenal, it's all about the UCL right now. And for PSG, can they complete their treble? We're just going to preview and kind of discuss what is going to go down on Tuesday and Wednesday. Are we going to see more drama like we saw last week in these two games? So let's first talk about Inter and Barcelona. When you look at Barca right now, there's no Kunde, there's no Balde, so you're missing your two starting fullbacks for this game, a critical game. And people can talk about, oh, it's the amount of games they've had. Yes, it is very unfortunate that Barcelona lost both fullbacks, but you need squad depth. And right now, you're going to look at Barca and saying, can Yera Martin do the job? Yera Martin was clearly targeted in that game against Barcelona. Clearly, like Dumfries, the amount of times he got forward, not so much in the first half, but clearly they just saw Yera Martin as the weak link. So now I'm intrigued to see, how does Hansi Flick deal with this situation? Does he go with Inigo Martinez in the left back position? You know what he might do? He might start the four center backs in the four defensive line. Inigo Martinez, Araujo, Kubarsi, and then Er Garcia in the right back position. We could probably see that from Hansi Flick, just to deal with sort of the set-piece threat that Inter have and dealing with the physicality and speed of a Dumfries, who's very good going forward. This is an intriguing development for Hansi Flick. But they got Lewandowski back off the bench at least. I don't think he will start. He will at least come off the bench, so that's at least good for Barcelona. And for Inter, we have no clue what the status of Pavard and Lautaro is. If somehow Lautaro is fit, I think Inter did hire the doctors from Atalanta. Because Atalanta somehow got Scamacca, Scalvini fit in 6 months after an Achilles or ACL tear, if I'm not mistaken. So maybe Inter just hired the Atalanta doctors. Because if somehow Lautaro is fit, that's a miracle. But I feel like for Inter, they just got to go with Arnautovic, Marcus Thuram. Both teams got to rest their key players over the weekend. Inter getting the victory over Hellas Verona and obviously Barcelona. Even though they went 1-0 down against Valladolid, they at least got the victory with stars off the bench. So both teams, are they a little bit fatigued? Yes. But that is very common in this part of the season. You're going with the amount of games these two teams have played, going in all fronts with the artillery in the Coppa Italia, the grenades in the league, the all-out force in the Champions League. Yes, you're gonna feel fatigue in the legs, but we know when these two teams met up in the Champions League, fireworks. And I'm expecting the same thing on Tuesday for Inter and Barca. And you guys know I've been very consistent in saying that Inter will win the Champions League. Was I a little bit disappointed in them last week? Yes, because when you go 2-0 up, I expect Inter should be getting the job done. You have a 2-0 lead at the Montjuic, you should be winning 2-1 or 3-1. But Barca's attack is just dangerous. If Inter can just limit Barca to one goal on Tuesday, I feel like Inter can advance. But if this is another shootout where it gets to a 3-2, 3-3, 4-3 sort of game, I think that's going to favor Barca because we've seen throughout this season are the overwhelming best attack in Europe. So I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know how Inzaghi is going to approach it. But heck, I think we're expecting some fireworks. The key player for both teams, I think number one for Inter, it is Dumfries again. And also Barella. I think Barella, he had a good game last week. Didn't have the greatest impact on the game. I expect that the San Siro, that's going to change for Barella. And if Dumfries can have a similar game, that was his best game of his career. I mean, standout game from him. If he can have a similar game at the San Siro, that's going to favor Inter. Where for Barcelona, they're going to need more magic from Lamine Yamal. They're going to need more magic from Pedri. And they need Rafinha. Yes, Rafinha got the goal, but his impact on that game wasn't the greatest. Rafinha needs to step up, and he's done it so many times this season, where in the big moments, Rafinha shows up. So those are the sort of players that need to step up for both teams. And I'm intrigued to see what you guys say in the comments down below and who do you think will win this game. Do you think it's going to go to 120 minutes? Do you think it's going to go to penalties? Do you think one of the two teams can win it in the 90 minutes? This game and this result, for whichever way the result will have massive implications on the rest of this season. If Barca lose, what about the El Clasico on the weekend? If Inter lose, they might not win a trophy this year. Now, I've seen some channels and some people say Inzaghi out. I mean, Inzaghi out is the equivalent of saying flat earth. It's the same equivalent. Like, no, you don't say those sort of things. Yes, it's been a disappointing season if Inter lose. But we will talk about that if Inter do lose to Barcelona in this Champions League. And if Barca lose, I mean, at least they got the Copa del Rey. And they should be winning La Liga. but they've been by far the best team in Europe this season. Oh, Tuesday is going to be delicious, and I do believe Inter will do it. I think it's going to be 2-1 Inter. Even without Lautaro, I still think they need a better game from Di Marco. Di Marco recently has not been good. Carlos Augusto, should he be starting? Let me know your thoughts, Inter fans. Then the other tie, PSG and Arsenal. So PSG got a 1-0 lead heading back to Paris. And Arsenal, I am shocked by what Arteta did. I didn't get to watch the game, but when I saw Arteta basically field his best 11 against Bournemouth, I'm like, you do know the Premier League title race is over. Oh, we might be in trouble of not making top 5. You got top 5. You got top 5, Arteta and Arsenal. So I was shocked to see him not rest the players. They lost the game. I don't think that really matters in the grand scheme of things. I don't think that will have implications on this game. But you want to keep the players fresh. Maybe you could give like Thomas Partey some minutes because he didn't play midweek. But give rest to Rice, to Saka, to some of these players. Apparently, Timber could be out. I mean, Kvara is licking his lips. If he sees Ben White on the opposing side, Kvara's going to have a field day. Ben White was very good 2 seasons ago for Arsenal. I think the injury this season has really hampered him. And Kvara, with the form he's in, with the way he played last week at the Emirates, I think Kvara's due for a massive game then. Massive game. And for Arsenal, how can you overcome the tie and advance to your second ever UCL final? They're going to have to be deadly from set pieces. That's one thing that PSG dealt very well with, except for the offside goal from Merino last week. And we know PSG, overall this season, are not the best defensively when it comes to set pieces. Arsenal have to be better in that situation. They need a better... I mean, Martin Ødegaard needs to step up. He had an average game against PSG. I saw that he got an assist over the weekend, even though I saw a lot of criticism against Bournemouth. This is the sort of game where Martin Ødegaard really now needs to say, screw the tactics, I need to take over the game. He needs to be so influential. He's such a creative player. But when he's just lacking that sort of confidence, it hampers the rest of the team. So Arsenal need a massive game from Martin Ødegaard. Same thing for Saka. Martinelli needs to be clinical. And I wonder what the midfield pairing will be. Obviously, it could be Rice, Partey, and then Ødegaard. And then probably Merino back at the striker role because his sort of physicality could disrupt PSG a little bit more. Playing as a more false 9 could actually trouble the PSG defenders. That's where Arsenal could get some joy in this game. But they're going to leave themselves exposed. And if you give space to this PSG team, you're going to get cooked. We saw that time and time again against Liverpool, against Aston Villa, and also sometimes against Arsenal last week. This PSG team, when they have space, with the pace and directness of a Desiree Doué, to Kvara, to Dembele, even Barcola off the bench, it is scary hours for the opposing team. Now, I don't know what the status of Ousmane Dembele is. If he's out, that's a big loss. Because we know the form Ousmane Dembele has been in 2025. I mean, Ousmane, it's just so crazy to say that Ousmane Dembele now is the most key player for PSG. If you said that 2 seasons ago, you would have been like, are you smoking crack? Because Dembele this year has just been so lethal. Yes, sometimes he does miss a big chance, but he's critical. His off-ball movement and the way he can just drop deep to receive the ball, it just creates so many problems for the opposing team that I think if Dembele is out, who will play them more in that false 9 role? I think it's gonna probably be like Desiree Doué because he's more comfortable receiving the ball in the midfield compared to Kvara and Barcola, because Kvara and Barcola want to receive the ball out wide and take on the defenders. And PSG, they're at home. It's on a golden plate for them to advance to the final. It was the same thing last year against Dortmund. They lost the first tie 1-0. It happens, you lost the first tie, take it home and see if you can overturn it. What happened? They had about a gazillion shots. They hit the post a gazillion times, and they didn't advance to the final. So really, for PSG, they have to just calm the nerves, play their game, and don't get flustered. I think if the legs were reversed and the second leg was at the Emirates and PSG had a 1-0 lead, I actually wouldn't feel so confident for PSG because we've seen time. I know they went to Anfield and won, but it's just that Villa game just brought back those demons for some of these PSG players that have been here before where they have collapsed. The Donnarummas, the Marquinhos, I'm looking at those sort of players. But now with the new breed of players, these guys are confident. They're fearless. This PSG team just oozes the confidence to get the job done. And I think if Vitinha, João Neves, and Fabian Ruiz play the same way they did for the first 30 minutes against Arsenal, it might be curtains for Arsenal in their season. But there is a chance here for Arsenal. There's no away goals. It's only a 1-goal deficit. Of course Arsenal can overturn it. If Arsenal get an early goal, How do PSG then react? Are they going to get frightened of the moment? It's just so fascinating to see. I feel like if PSG get like an early goal, then they add a second goal, it's 3-0 over the aggregate scoreline, I think it's done. Even though, PSG were 5-1 up against Aston Villa, but it was at Villa Park. At home, PSG with that crowd, there's going to be such a great atmosphere. I feel like that's going to really help the players. Arsenal just got to play their game. Arteta understands it's going to be very difficult. No team has went away to PSG and dominated possession. No team. Not Man City, not Liverpool, not Aston Villa. No team has went to Paris and dominated the game. PSG will dictate the tempo and how this game is played. And for Arsenal and Arteta, they just have to play 5-minute games. For 5 minutes, we're going to have to probably defend deep. For 5 minutes, we got to press high up the field to win it and get quick transitions. At 5 minutes, let's just go toe-to-toe. Let's play a basketball game. That's what Arteta has to tell his players. But this aggregate scoreline, it just favors PSG right now. 1-0 in Paris. I would actually be very disappointed if they don't get the job done. I know I had Arsenal advancing to the final, but I would have thought that Arsenal would have won at the Emirates. When they didn't, I was like, this is going to be tough. This is going to be very, very difficult. So I think PSG, they got all the ingredients. They rested their players over the weekend. I think it was only João Neves who played against Strasbourg. I know they lost the game. It doesn't matter. They won League 1 already. PSG, they should be getting the job done. But I would not count out Arsenal. I just wouldn't. This is now everything for Arteta and his squad. I think this game has more pressure actually on Arsenal to get the job done compared to PSG. PSG are still a young team, and if they go out, yes, it will be disappointing. But at least they got another season to go with these players. So, what's going to happen on Wednesday? I do believe PSG will advance. It'll be like maybe 2-1 or 1-1 the scoreline, and PSG will advance to their second UCL final. But let me know your thoughts, people, in the comments down below. Which two teams will advance to Munich for the final? Which player needs to have the biggest game possible in order for his team to advance to the final? Remember to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. But have a beautiful day. Stay safe in this crazy world. Till next time, adios.